This is something that is quite concerning, or should be quite concerning, isn't it, for the United States of America? Is it a sign of perhaps further things to come for other banks there too? Do you believe this has some sort of sense of a COVID impact, or is it too far-fetched to blame it entirely on COVID?
I would like to say one thing to you. I think you must have been seeing, and I think everybody's been seeing, I think India has become a much more mature market in such situations like that. I think on a regular course, we see a lot of banks going down, getting Section 35A imposed on that. And this is a normal process globally, if you look at. Okay. So just to explain everybody what this process is, okay, this process is first of all about if, let's say, what happened in America is a very simple situation that banking is a business of trust, okay. So just in case if there are any negative rumors or, any such situation, anybody who has deposits anywhere would start withdrawing. So this is normal. So we've seen that, in several banks where situations have happened. 2008 happened with a major bank in India also. But yes, they dealt with it, they managed it. But many banks around the world, they eventually go through this at times. But let me be honest with you. Because it's America, so it's a big deal. Okay, so in India, every now and then we see it happening all the time. You go to RBI's website, go to their press releases, you see it just yesterday. There were 4 banks going down. So this is normal. I think India has become a more mature market in that, and people have understood it. Okay, so let me explain you. Federal Reserve that we talk about, that is basically the FDIC that we talk about right now. OCC is the regulator in America, okay? And OCC regulates banking in America for majority of the banks. And FDIC insures about $250,000 worth of deposits. So people who have deposits over $250,000, their deposits will only be returned back to them after the bank is liquidated. The assets are eventually monetized. They are realized. That's what happens. Now, coming to a situation like this, so if there is an overnight controversy that happens to any banking institution, right? So all of a sudden, and if it's a listed bank on a stock exchange, so all of a sudden what happens is this: investors, depositors, everybody starts pulling out money. Okay, so when there's a run on any bank, obviously the bank has to collapse. But before this happened, what was the primary reason? So let me explain you. I see that the bank was failing to be able to raise capital. Because what I see that the markets that they focused on was a lot with the startups. So if you know that a lot of startups do fail, okay, so you have to understand that a lot of money is being eventually put into startups globally, if you look at, And if any of the accounts turn NPA, that means it depletes the share capital on the balance sheet of the bank. Okay, so once it depletes the share capital, unless you go ahead and write those loans off, okay, you're going to literally go into negative net worth. So what happened with this bank is that it was going into negative net worth, and depositors were getting to know about it, that yes, it is getting into negative net worth, NPAs are going high, and they're not being able to raise capital. Now, due to which, what has happened is this whole situation, this whole process. See, from the OCC standpoint, if you look at, this is a normal process. India also, if some bank goes down, people don't have trust on it. What happened with PMC? Remember that, right? So 35A was imposed immediately. People were stopped from, being able to withdraw over a specific amount. So in India, let's say we have 500,000 rupees, 5 lakh rupees worth of an insurance. Same way they have $250,000 worth of an insurance. So it's a normal process. But let me be honest, like you mentioned, that why has Hindenburg, not seen this, not talked about it? Let me be honest with you. Well, I would say companies like that, who basically focus on whether you call short selling or whatever it may be, I call it a pre-planned conspiracy, against India is what I would call them. So I would say one thing especially. Yes. So it's not just one of the business groups that was targeted by them, a couple of them earlier too. And why Indian? So I would call it anti-Indian forces on the financial side, which are there. Then the other side, I also want to eventually say that basically if they knew what is going to happen, they would have been talking about it. If they were financial experts, they would have been talking about it. This is basic common sense, no rocket science. If your bank's NPAs are high, your share capital is going down. Your share capital is going down, automatically you create a situation where, there's a public run and people take out money. So this is very normal, okay? But since it's America, it's a big deal for the world.
Okay, let me give the last word then to Ajay Dua before we wrap up, and Professor Nalapat, and then I have to take a break. So 30 seconds to you both. Ajay Dua first, closing comment.
The regulatory setup in the United States must immediately get into action if the contagion has to be contained. Otherwise, there would be adverse effect of it, and we saw that how one smaller bank than even Lehman Bank in 2008 could cause a bank recession in the United States, because the action wasn't predicted, and it just led to a spin-off effect of a very high order. Otherwise, the attempt has to be only to make it an isolated incident. Deal with it with whatever is its.
I think that's something that will be watched keenly. Isolated incident, sign of things to come. Professor Nalapat, closing comment.
Look, the fact is that, India is really a very attractive market. There's no question about it. And as Anil Antony and the previous speaker pointed out, I mean, there has been a consistent effort to tar India in a negative way. Essentially, that is basically designed to help, if I may say so, China, and to help China hold on to its manufacturing, which is actually looking at increasingly shifting to other markets, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia. But the Chinese are worried about India, because we can absorb a whole lot of the capital in China. So yes, and from that point of view, I'd like to say, so far as India is concerned, there are individuals who want to badmouth the India story. It's not, in this particular case of one particular company, I don't know enough about it. But certainly there are, the BBC, for example, as Anil Antony very courageously pointed out, was badmouthing the entire India story. That is basically to the benefit of China. And may I end by saying, Uday, many people say Wall Street and Chang'an-shi, which is the main highway in China, where all the VVIP stay. Well, these two streets are joined at the hip, and we see that play out over and over again.
Okay, let's leave it at that. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us. We've run out of time. We're getting breaking news coming in.